Hi guys, welcome along. This is my initial thoughts on the Adidas Adizero Boston 11. Once again, welcome along guys, thank you very much indeed for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button below, turn on the bell notification so you find out every time I upload new running videos, and if you could give this video a thumbs up, that will help this channel grow immensely. All that said, we're here about the Adidas Adizero Boston 11. So first up, we'll give you the stats, then we'll give you my impressions of this particular shoe. First of all, UK size 10, and the question I get asked most of the time, is it true to size? For me, yes, it fits nicely, okay? For me, it's okay. I know people with wider feet sometimes have a bit of problem with Adidas shoes, but for me, size 10 seems to be true to size. Weight-wise, it's on the heavier range of running shoes, 320 grams, which is about 11 ounces in this UK size 10, which is a US 11 or a Euro 45. The heel to toe drop is 8.5 millimeters. That's 39 mil of stack at the back, 31 at the front. And I don't know about you, but to me, I never noticed this incline in the foot, and no matter whether it's a 9 mil or it's a 5 mil or even it's zero drop, I can never feel the difference. So I don't know about you, but for me, I can never feel it. But it's 8.5 if that means something to you. Price wise, on the Adidas website, they're £140. When I picked this up at the National Running Show, it was half price, so £70 a pair. Absolute bargain price. Now I've run in the Boston 10. This video isn't going to tell you the differences between this and the Boston 10. I'm going to do a separate video on that. But just to let you know, the Boston 10 I've done 597 miles so far in that shoe, so I can tell you what I think about that. So we're moving on to the Boston 11. First of all, the outsole. Continental rubber, which is pretty standard on the high-end Adidas shoes. Gives a good grip over a range of surfaces, on the roads, on the pavements, on the grass, on the gravel. Haven't had any issues. And with me, grip is very important. As you know, I broke my shoulder a couple of years ago while I was out running, and since then I've always been very careful, always been conscious of where I've been placing my feet, so I'm always looking to see where my feet are going. And also, if there's any obstacles or any natural phenomena like ice, then I don't run, because I'm very conscious of putting my foot down and making sure I have a firm area to land on. So I don't like any time I get a little bit of slippage, I always slow down, and if it really is bad, I'll slow down and walk and just bail out on the run. So placing my foot has been very important to me. So having something like the Continental rubber on the Boston 11 has given me confidence in the run to place my foot and to go through the various gears that we run in. So as you can see, the Continental rubber is in strategic places, and then there's some exposed light strike as well. And if you look carefully, you can see where it's pitted from some of the stones. I've done about 12-13 miles in these so far. That's something to be aware of, but generally fantastic wear from the outsole. Midsole wise, they haven't really changed this from the Boston 10. You've got the Light Strike Pro on the top, and then the Light Strike EVA underneath. And inside, as you can see from the bottom there, you've got the energy rods. In the Boston, they are plastic coated rods, so they're giving the same as the in the Adidas Pro, where you've got those 5 fingers, shall we say, underneath the 5 toes, so you're getting not a full carbon plate, but the rods underneath where your toes are, to give you the same feeling as the carbon plate. And to just tell you about the ride from the midsole, the thing about Lightstrike, and if you go back on previous videos I've done, I've always said it's a touch firmer. It's probably one of the firmer materials out there, but what I have noticed with these shoes is the more you use it, the more it beds in and the more flexible it gets. So when you've initially put a pair of these on, you go out for your first run, you will think, well, these are a bit firm. You've got to let them bed in, you've got to let the EVA break down, you've got to let it get used to your foot. And once you get to about 15, 20 miles or so, you will start to feel that there is a lot more give in the Lightstrike, but it will still feel of the firmer variety, but there is still some give in there. So you are getting that cushioning when you land, and then you can feel it pushing you off from that firmness. It isn't the softest rubber out there. It isn't like running on clouds. It is a touch firmer, so be aware of that, especially, as I said just then, at the beginning, the first time you put them on, you will think these are pretty firm, and you might just put them away in the corner and not use them again. You've got to use them. You've got to let them bed in, and you will find that the Lightstrike is a really good midsole. It's probably one of my favourites. A touch firmer than normal, but that doesn't detract from it. I think that makes it better. Moving on to the upper. Like a lot of Adidas these days, it's 50% recycled materials, 50% recycled plastics in there. So it's a mesh. I don't know if you can see in there. It's a mesh. I've actually got a bit of video here, I'll show you. You can see my toes wiggling inside the toe box there, so you can see how vented the mesh is. But with it being this recycled plastic, it does feel a bit more plasticky than others, so be aware of that. As I say, the ventilation in the shoe is fantastic. It's got a gusseted tongue, so that sits well on there. Full lace enclosure. So once my foot is in there, room in the toe box, there's plenty of room in the toe box for me, but as I said earlier on, there could be a problem if you've got wider feet, so be aware of that. So there's no problems for me with the toe box. When I've laced up, it's sat firmly on the foot. There's been no movement, no blistering around the heel counter area. With this, I think they've gone from the Boston 10, which was a comfortable shoe, to a more functional shoe. So there seems to be less padding in it than the previous iterations. There is minimal padding around the heel and on the back as well. There is padding in there, but it is minimal. The heel counter itself is quite firm, and then you've got obviously the pull tab for when you're putting your foot in there. So here's a question for you. You've put this on, you're going out for your run. Do you leave the heel up, or do you put the heel down? So it's up because you've used it to pull and push your foot into there. So do you put it down, or do you leave it there? It's a bit more cushioning. Let me know in the comments below. Personally, I'm running with heel down. So whilst I'm out on the run, I haven't come across any issues that have affected the run, but I have noticed that the sides have been a little bit stiff. So once I've done a run and I'm walking home, I can feel it starting to rub on the sides, because this bit seems to be quite narrow, and as I said, there is minimal padding in there, but perhaps there's not enough padding in. So when I've been walking after the run, I have felt it a bit tight, but I'm thinking, as I say, I'm only about 12-13 miles in this, so I'm hoping it's going to get more flexible as there's more running going into these shoes. So I'll keep an eye on that. But that's really the only problem I've come across with the fit of this shoe, is after the run, maybe a little bit of rubbing around these areas, but as time will tell whether that is going to be a major issue. At the price point of £70, I really do like this shoe. It's probably going to be my main go-to shoe whilst doing my training for the Boston Marathon. So this shoe is going to be doing anything from 20+ mile long runs to interval sessions to fartlek running to tempo running. So far I've done easy runs of about 8.5 minute pace, and they've held up brilliantly. Done some interval running within those sessions where I've had this up to just slightly faster than my 5k pace, so just under 6 minute mile pace, and they've picked up the pace and felt brilliant. And as I say, running through all the different gears we run through, I haven't come across any problems with these shoes. They felt great. It's a versatile all-round, everyday training shoe. Would I run a marathon in these? No. Would I run a 5k in these? Possibly, but probably not. It is a training shoe for me, and that's its purpose. It can go through and do all the sessions you want, and it's a great everyday running shoe. So that's it. That's my initial thoughts on this shoe. I will revisit it after we've done a couple of 100 miles. If you want to know how it compares to the Boston 10, there will be a video following this for you shortly.